Hello everybody, it is Brony Time and welcome back to Let's Play the Hayseed Knight. Last time I kinda just introduced the game and we went through all the lore. And if you haven't watched that episode, welcome anyway, because we're about to get right into this. And you guys didn't really have to watch episode 1 to really understand what's going on, where I read all the lore. As Maxi, the creator of this game, has said, that you'll learn everything through the game anyway. Anyway, beast, I saw a beast, I guess.
Way to call me an eyesore.
I'm telling you, I saw a beast.
Right. Look, I'm not drunk enough for this, so good.
This ain't no time to sleep. The beast may be gone, but the Macadar is still out there. The forest out there has come to find me.
Can you stop screaming like an idiot and use your brain for a second?
I knew they'd get to the city one day. We gotta tell everyone.
There are no damn trees around you, dimwit!
A long shush followed right after, or that's what we'll go with, since the words their dear neighbors used were too colorful to be reproduced.
Oh, then what did you holler for, Mr. Bard? The sun ain't up yet. If you don't quit your whining, we're gonna get a beating.
Says you, the buck who hath been delighting mine ears with his pitiful wailing all night long.
Say what?
You've been talking in your sleep again.
Sorry.
Well, slap my head and call me silly. I'm so sorry, Mr. Bard. I forgot we were an heirloom for a moment there. But no more. I'm gonna make sure than sure to keep my dreams dead silent from now on.
That's what you said last time. Can't a deer have a hangover in peace for once?
You know that I'd move away if I could. But
Don't sweat it, kid. Once you're faring better, you'll take us both out of our misery.
wait. Fair? Fair? Oh, 3.
Uh-oh.
Don't.
The fair!
Oh boy.
I swear to bite that kid, if you keep screaming, I'm going to kill you.
Not if they get to me first!
And so Eddar's heavy hoofs stomped the ground with the force of a stampede as he sprinted away, making Yalf regret every decision that led to him suffering this torment.
Glad we sorted that out.
Wide awake now and running as fast as his clumsy heels would let him, Adder set off to the bazaar. A whole year had come and gone since he'd first set foot on the streets of the Slander District, the most infamous slums in the history of the capital. A place so heinous that walking there alone at night was considered a suicide attempt. A place where you were in your right to keep a house if you could outlast its previous owner. Where he'd once felt like a poor fawn fearing for his life, and now he felt like a poor deer fearing for his life, but at least he actually knew his way around for such a long time avoiding brigands. He had no time to spare worrying about the trivial matters such as being robbed or stabbed, for he knew fully well that he was to meet his destiny.
The patron's gonna skin me alive!
A destiny which most likely didn't really include being flayed by his dearest employer. Though he can't rule out the possibility of his direct superior whacking him in the head for oversleeping on such an important date.
What if she hates me now? Then the patron won't have no problem kicking me out. He'll kick me out and keep my skin as a payment. Nah, that's dumb. But he'll kill me anyway. Oh, crap.
So immersed was he in these fatalistic thoughts invading his head. I feel that. I'm the same exact way. Which was, by all accounts, mostly made up of sawdust, didn't pay any mind to the path his hosts were following. And so, as to be expected, from someone not heeding the wise advice, look where you're going, he soon met the first obstacle in his way to the plaza. A wall.
Oh dear.
In any other place, that soft chuckle would have meant that Adder wouldn't have the benefit of living with his failures alone. In the slums. It could mean that he wouldn't have the benefit of living at all.
That was almost impressive.
Dang, that voice.
I truly thought that you were going to run straight through that wall for a moment.
Even hearing it a second time, I'm like, oh, wow. The voice got closer by the second, followed by a strangely harmonic tinkling, a melody that danced in his ears and paralyzed his mind, rendering him frozen in the spot at the thought of an incoming murderous lady. Adder shut his one remaining eye and held his breath deeply, knowing that this would be the last. Not dead yet. Still not dead. How come he was still alive? That's just rude. Between his blurry sight and the obfuscating darkness, Adder could barely discern the silhouette standing right in front of him. He should have run and screamed and begged for his life, but instead he hesitated long enough for a few stray sun rays to wander among the rundown houses, finally casting light upon his foe.
Whoa!
For your information, everyone already thinks that Rose are thick-skulled. We don't need another martyr for the cause.
Hello! You can see the look on his face. He's like, oh, frickin' pretty girl. A plump gazelle dressed in exquisite silks watched over him, sole witness to his downfall. She smiled at him with ease of one who is wealthy enough to be a local wherever they go. Suddenly unequipped to offer a coherent reply, Adder stared in stunned silence. His delayed reaction was nothing short of concerning given the circumstances, but the new bump on his head was not to blame for it. Despite all the preconceptions screaming otherwise in his mind, this gazelle didn't appear to be hostile, murderous, or even the slightest bit interested in bringing about his death, in fact. The only demise that seemed imminent was hers.
What? Are you okay? What are you doing out and about in a place like this, ma'am? You lost or something?
In a way, I suppose. I'm hiding.
And here I am hollering down the street without a care in the world. I'm so sorry. I'll leave you be.
No need. I'm not in immediate danger, and I fully intend to be found. It is a matter of principle. I guess what I intend to be is a nuisance.
So you're playing some kind of rich gal hide and seek?
Does that lower your opinion of me much?
Shoot. Sorry, guys. The game fucking stuttered there.
I mean, I ain't got much of an opinion of you yet. An impression, at most?
You've definitely made one.
Whether that's positive or negative, I guess we'll see. The girl turned the curve of her horns towards the adder-shaped indentation in that wall. She returned with a smirk, which only served to seize Adder's
You ain't
brow.
no coward, that's for sure. You gotta have a lot of gall or a lot of empty room in your head to go slumming it in a place like this.
You're one to talk.
But he lives there. And he's clearly not well off like you are.
Who, me? Pfft, no, of course not. I ain't one to talk to reckless moneybags who risk their one life dawdling and slander, chewing the rag with boneheads who fly straight into walls. Except I am, because that's what they call sarcasm in these parts.
Okay.
I couldn't tell.
What? Oh my god.
See? That's what I'm talking about. You can't survive out here if you don't know that much, ma'am. I know y'all better sorts like playing with fire,
But he could hardly bear the thought of going on his merry way and letting a young lady become a ransom note. Not even when his neck, his jaw rather, was on the line.
y'all got space for one more player?
He's like, the hell? Why does this deer want to hang out with me?
You want us to hide together? Wouldn't that be reckless of me?
Good question. I wouldn't trust myself if I were a full-time slum dweller, but I'm a temporary slum dweller. An honorary slum dweller, if you will. You could trust me for about 10 minutes.
They laughed together under their breath, like old friends sharing a secret. Okay, so we're making the connection. Once again, it's this scene is very, very freaking awkward, and it's gonna get more awkward, so I'm already in that mindset.
I don't know about safe, but I promise you won't be bored.
I would enjoy that.
Corner of her lips contorted upwards into a sincere grin. It felt like the greatest achievement in the boy's entire life. Pretty lady smiled at me! Adder dusted his scruffy pants, straightened his fourth or fifth hand jacket, and cleared his
It's a
throat.
deal then. You're in luck today, ma'am. You get a hiding partner, a meat shield, and a tour guide for the unbeatable price of nothing at all. Please stay close to the coward by your side and keep your wits about. Down danger alleys we go.
Adder said this with his chin up and a full chest. For anything else would have had him slapping his own snout, wondering what in the name of the hot sun was he getting himself, into this time. Adder's anxieties were ample, unwholesome, and they tended to grow in the absence of dialogue. A few minutes stuck on a narrow staircase next to a wistful-looking girl, and he was already teaming with them. Oh, exactly. Okay, I was like, wait, what? It occurred to him now that his meager wits were starting to rearrange after getting so terribly scrambled, that running into a wall and ditching his job were potentially the least fatal of his long string of poor decisions.
So, if it ain't prying too much, course, who are we hiding from again?
Probably some retainer, a maid, it could be anybody.
Oh, no one important. You'll know when you see them.
Right, gotcha.
Adder didn't dare spare a single look in the direction of his rather nonchalant company. He couldn't afford that sort of stress in his life. Our illiterate protagonist hardly knew what a book was, or why it was generally poor manners to judge one by its cover, but he had just started to workshop the idea that the quality of one's clothes didn't necessarily reflect one's station in life. I wonder what happened to his other eye. I'll be interested to find out what that's about, because that hasn't really been covered at all in Chapter 1, or how far I got in Chapter 2. He didn't want to assume, of course, but the horned lady by his side would have easily been a thief dressing up, on her way back from a Mark's house. Adder was pretty sure this was not the case, but what if? What if it was? What then? He'd get gored to death, that's what! The boy sidled one eye discreetly towards her comparatively large and sharp coiled black horns, hoping to find them a safe distance away from his face and all his fears. Fears that weren't eased by the liberty with which he found her inches away from his shoulder, gawking at his own antlers. So, how big is your... You know what the antlers are being in place for when it comes to a guy. You guys know what I'm saying.
You're gonna make him shorter if you keep staring like that, ma'am.
Oh, sorry. Am I making you self-conscious? I was just trying to get a better look at your eye patch.
That ain't much better, you know?
Yes, thank you for staring at the place where I lost my eye in a probably very traumatic experience.
Where would you have me look?
Okay.
Anywhere but me.
A fine company you'll make, then.
I thought we were supposed to be hiding.
And yet, I'd swear that I'd set out to find you.
Okay. Our favorite deer didn't know what to make of this sentence. She wouldn't grant him the time to digest
The
it
round
either.
will be over before we know it. Let me use my one chance to look at you.
Okay, this is creepy as hell.
I don't know. I kind of woke up too early, and I didn't have time to wash my face very well, and I don't really like being looked at, and I got a lot to get back to, and...
So you were in a rush. Am I keeping you?
Her expression morphed into an affected pout, an atrocious turn of events. Truth is, Zadar wasn't going to be just late for work anymore. He'd be double
I
late.
got places to be, yeah? But you can keep me all you like. I mean, what's the matter at this point? May as well save myself the trip back home. Chances are I'm already fired.
Thinking with your dick and not your head there, buddy. The lady raised a single eyebrow. It was sharp enough to stab at her in
And
the
you'd
common
rather
sense.
not cast the die.
Never been one to gamble.
I'm much the same as you. Metaphorically, that is. I do have a job to keep me busy.
Hey, I do too. I got like 15, in fact. I'm a farmer by birth, a smith apprentice by trade, a fighter by chance, a water seller by day, a rivet peddler by night, a beggar when necessity strikes.
Newly unemployed by choice.
If you want me to get, you can just say that, ma'am.
I hold nothing but your best interests at heart.
are you, first of all? Now, I know who she is, but we're not doing that. I'm not spoiling anything. But who are you to tell this guy, like, oh, I have your best interest? I'm like, to this guy, he just met you. He owes you, like, nothing.
Well, that makes two of us. What do you call that situation?
Unbelievable.
The seller turned her face briskly away towards the walls surrounding the market in distance. Her walls seemed just as tall. Now Eder wasn't exactly what we could call smooth, suave, anything less than gritty, really. But even he knew that the conversation wasn't going right, left, or anywhere he wanted it to go. He fully realized that he was being led by the nose by some pretty lady who hadn't even asked him to stay. He could have just walked off, right then, and lived a life none the wiser to the trouble that would come. Well, at least he's self-aware that he could be played like a tool.
Oh, you know, on second thought, what the hey? Look all you want. You got yourself a pass to the main event.
So now you're just gonna switch to bragging
Come
as the way to
and see, you
impress her.
bold. All the ways deer can grow wrong. Feast your eyes on the terror from Chantere, the
Chantere.
error of nature. Long neck shovel hand.
Chantere is how you pronounce that. Eder made a little pirouette as he fell headfirst down the stairs. That was thankfully enough to earn him another smile.
I don't suppose you're an acrobat.
I'm the whole circus act, ma'am.
Adler wiggled one of his gigantic hands up in the air for her to inspect, trying to provide a solid argument for his
What
thesis.
are those?
Had to stick in one of those. He felt a nice, friendly grip on his hand, kindly pulling him up from the ground, and before he knew it, he found himself face to hand with the lady upstairs. She was eyeing him up and down, inspecting his hands in the way one would study an ancient carving.
My hands?
Were you born with them? How much weight can you lift? Can you use tools at all? How do you put on shirts? What's wrong with your neck? Is that a hood or a scarf? I love the pattern, by the way.
Interesting. So far, what I'm getting is someone who presents as, like, you know, oh, yes. But then, like, this is probably her real self. I'm just guessing. It bears mentioning that at this point in his life, Eder had only been granted the honor of holding hands with two women. His mother and his boss. Both were rough and weathered by years of work, and both could be beaten and arm wrestling given the occasion. Finely filed fingers gently wrapped around his arm were a complete novelty, even if their owner was
So?
a gazelle.
I'm sorry, ma'am. What was the question?
You! What are you supposed to be?
What do I see here? I'm no one. I'm a big deal. So we can go self-deprecation, or I'm a big deal.
Oh, well, I'm just your average run-of-the-mill prairie buck, ma'am. Just, you know, my mother gave me shovels for hands and a gourd for a neck. They're better for work in the fields.
I don't believe you.
Huh? Which part?
None. I mean, you? A farmer?
Oh god, here we go. We're just gonna show, like, peasant, Something in the way she said that felt off. Eder couldn't quite put his finger on it, but she sounded somewhat disappointed.
What did you make me in your head?
She mumbled something in awe.
What's that, ma'am? Get back to work and move on with your life?
I said you don't look like a farmhand.
Oh boy.
Because of the eye patch?
It's not the eye patch.
Interesting.
I'll have you know that I'm the image of farmarity, ma'am. Or at least I was. See, I used to be all big and strong. But then I came to the city and, what do you know? Food ain't so easy to come by. I was so hungry that I'd even eat the rocks in the street. And I go to bed hungry one night. And another. And I keep on starving till I end up 2 meals short of turning into a walking pile of bones. Except for my hands. They just won't get. And I'm getting real tired of size jokes, let me tell you.
Take their envy for what it is. A sincere compliment.
You think they're jealous of my hands?
The lady was just polite enough not to reply to this question. Instead, her gaze returned to the vastness of the city ahead and the million souls inhabiting
What took you so far from the fields, Mr. Farmer?
The works of fate, as Mr. Bard would say.
More like the woes of fate, seeing you. All the good a farmer's hands will do you an heirloom.
Hey, they got their uses. I'm the local champion in fly swatting 3 years in a row, and I've only been here 1. I could do a handstand like it's nobody's business. I'm a master at cartwheels to boot. And not to brag, but I ain't half a bad climber either.
Can you really do a cartwheel?
Darn right I can.
Prove it.
Oh, you want me to show you a good time, huh? Now you done it, ma'am. You've insulted me. If we were anywhere else, I'd show you cartwheels right now.
Lydia put a hand on her face, desperately trying to stifle a laugh for a joke that definitely went right over Adder's head. He simply walked back downstairs, trying to make some space for the following demonstration.
Now, I guess there ain't no harm in giving you some pointers at least. The gist of it is, imagine a line right in front of you. Don't go turning just yet. Easy mistake. Raise your arms over the top of your head like this. Put one leg ahead, and then...
Adder lunged forward, a succession of hands and legs floating across the pavement. With practiced ease, he leaped and jumped and bounced under the shocked stare of the red-headed woman in front of him. Her logic had started to lag behind a few seconds ago, slowed down by the challenge of trying to understand how she managed to talk a slum dweller into giving her a practical lesson on acrobatics. Once she caught up with the situation at last, the deer's athleticism was rewarded with joyful, hearty laughter on her part, making Adder chuckle nervously alongside her, equally unsure exactly of why he had agreed to any of this.
Bravo, bravo. That was quite the show. I have a feeling, alas, that I don't have the right proportions to do it like you.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I can't really tell how any of this works with average-sized hands, or...
Horns like those was the thought Adder barely managed to bite down. She didn't seem to notice his faux pas, and if she did, she didn't mind. It was like she was looking at him with new eyes.
You weren't always this athletic, were you?
Kinda? I mean, I'm all fingers, but I was positively around before I came to the city, and I still cartwheeled the hours away in the hills all the same.
When did you move here?
Just last year.
And how many eyes did you have then?
What is...
5, I think, but I lost the other 4. Just the one, ma'am.
Adder had no clue what prompted such a personality change in his conversation partner, but he definitely had a few thoughts about it. All of them abandoned their priority spot inside Adder's brain when the gazelle cupped his sunken face in her hands.
It's you! It really is you, isn't it? The loudmouthed one-eyed chub! Just so much more... emaciated. Oh, how could you let this happen to yourself?
Okay, so she thinks he's somebody, and he's just like, what? He was suddenly brought to the present day with the realization of how close her blue eyes were to his own.
Man. I feel very strongly about having strangers' hands within stabbing distance.
But I'm not a stranger. It's me. Don't tell me you've forgotten me.
He might have. Galf had warned Adder multiple times about the dangers of the "it's me" scams, but he was pretty tempted to fall into this one.
I think our 10 minutes are up. I don't know what you're selling, but I ain't gonna buy it.
Come on. Don't you remember that night on the bridge under Hirob's statue? With the guards laughing at you? You didn't hit your head that hard, did you?
I bet those guards had one haystack of a night laughing at some poor buck, but I'm pretty darn sure that wasn't me. I'd remember you. Trust me.
In other circumstances, perhaps. But I suppose a year would be far too long regardless. Oh well. That only leaves one way to find out.
The creature grew in bitter lip just enough to make Adder lose his need to understand the situation
Come
anymore.
closer.
Oh god, is she hitting on him now? What? Who, me? Who, me? Almost asked the deer. Yet there was no one else hiding in the mists
I
of dawn.
said come closer.
Okay, now she's telling him
All
to.
right, then. Here I come.
That's it. Come on. Don't make me walk over there. Boop.
Wow. Wow. She got him. She got
That's
him.
enough.
He sipped right under Adder's arm, uninvited, but not
Now,
unwelcomed.
If you could get on your knees, You know what? Maybe you should see a doctor after all.
Jasif! There you are!
Now, seriously?
In less than a blink, the gazelle's smile was back on her face. She turned to face the voice in the distance. It belonged to a doe in similarly flashy clothing, hurriedly stomping her way towards Jasif, apparently.
You called?
We've been looking everywhere for you!
And he's gone. He's like, I ain't sticking around for this. He's wimping out.
And so you found me. Congratulations. Now, if you don't mind...
Miss Rochelle's had us searching for hours! She wants you back immediately!
Well, I'm kind of busy, so... Would you be so kind to go tell her to find someone else to bother while I catch up with my friend here?
The fair's about to start! Head back already or you'll get us all in trouble!
The red-haired woman held her breath for what felt like an eternity. The entire world seemed to slow down to match her pace, afraid of moving another second forward.
I'm sorry. Was that an order?
What? Miss Rochelle said...
Say, do you know what happened to the last wench who had the gall to order me around?
The sea grin remained glued to her face, but her eyes had narrowed down to a squint, sharpening her long eyelashes even further.
I don't...
Care to find out?
Oh god, so... She's below her, apparently. The doe looking for her stammered, color drained from her mane. After a few 10 seconds, Jasif clapped her hands.
Oh, sorry. Was that too much? Don't make that face, honey. I'm just joking.
I don't
here.
think you were really joking there.
I'm not idle enough to begin picking fights with my sisters, don't you think?
Right.
Then that's settled. Let's go.
Jasif whipped her tail as she spun in the opposite direction, making the choir of bells that hung from her hips announcing her leave. Adder hadn't quite planned on sticking around so long, and he positively didn't mean to spy on anyone. He was just worried, of course, but not with good reason. The withdrawn gazelle that had so eagerly tried to convince him of their acquaintance had all but vanished, and the terrifying lady that took her place seemed to have forgotten all about him. Baron or not, Adder didn't have many chances to make new friends, especially on the upper echelon, to whom he owed a great deal of kindness when his dinner depended on it. He thought it wise, therefore, to introduce himself before the stranger beauty left his life for good.
Yes.
Ooh. His call came out little more desperate than he intended, and who could blame him? He had found himself petrified at the sight of her all over again, her bright red hair curling into messy waves behind her neck, her horns shining in such a deep reflective black, her long fluffy tail lazily lagging behind her, captured halfway through his step. What was a nobody like him doing talking to a woman like her? Why would she ever bother so much as to look back? Adder's heart skipped a beat, and once he realized so, he would have sooner had it stop beating altogether. No way, I wasn't looking at her! Adder yelled internally. Beads of sweat falling from his temples at his face became even more flustered. There's no way I... Flustered as he was, he barely registered the gazelle walking down the few steps that separated them. As if meaning to aggravate his inner turmoil, Jasif smiled one last time, with a mischievous glint in her eyes.
Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you. It's your turn to find me next, handsome.
Adder was so many things. He was goofy, he was loud, he had a smile that could light up a whole town, he was gigantic, and yet if there was one thing he'd never call himself, it was no doubt handsome. After all, a buck's worth may as well be as large as his horns are, and his were, well, tiny, almost childlike. So that offhand compliment, that mere insinuation that someone found him actually good-looking, made his heart flutter. And by flutter, I mean it may have as well burst out of his chest right then. Love instantly. So for just a second, he forgot that the lady in front of him was horned. For a moment, he forgot all the horrible things he heard about gazelles and those who fancied them. His face turned red, his jaw came loose, but had he been able to articulate, he'd have found he'd completely forgotten the ability to walk. He still knew how to do one thing, though. Run. Wordless heartbreak. This time, his shame was stronger than the wall.
Wait, what? Stop right there. What was that last bit?
Yes, Lynn. What was that last bit? Well, we'll find out. Next time on the Hayseed Night. So there we go. We got into a little bit of story there. We met our obvious love interest, Jasif, and of course they hit it off awkwardly but finished strongly. So who knows? What's gonna happen next? But yeah. Of course, I know I unlocked a few new, encyclopedia entries there. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to wait till the end of this first chapter, and then we'll read through the encyclopedia, and that may be a video all on its own, so I can split up the lore stuff for people who want to watch it. So, yeah, that's probably what we're going to do. We're going to read the encyclopedia at the end of each chapter, and, you know, learn a little bit more about the stuff we heard about in the story itself. Until then, thank you all for watching. Please give a like, comment, and subscribe to BronyTime for more content, especially more of the Hayseed Night. Also, make sure to share this video far and wide for a new series so it can reach as many eyes as possible. And I will see you all next time.